And now, Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
Joe Bob Briggs is still hanging around here, and that was the last the feral kid ever saw of the Road Warrior, but it was not the last we saw of him because he was back in 1985 in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which we've only shown about 17 times here on Monstervision. Another wasteland triumph by George Miller. Great movie, though, capped off by that 13-minute chase scene at the end that took an eternity to film out there in the Australian desert and cost several injuries to stuntmen, by the way. Okay, I want to let you know that next week we're going back to the 70s for our post-apocalypse flicks. We'll be showing The Ultimate Warrior, where Yul Brynner helps Max von Sydow defend his compound on the barren streets of New York City, and the Jan Michael Vincent George Peppard classic Damnation Alley with lots of cool atomic bomb stock footage. Now, as you may know, The Road Warrior started a whole new cycle of post-Holocaust movies, basically barbarians with motor vehicles and automatic weapons, right? Is that what that amounts to? And a subset of that cycle was post-Holocaust movies made in Italy, kind of the spaghetti westerns of the 80s. Now, the movie we're about to watch, the actual title is Anno 2020, I Gladiatori del Futuro. You have to do this when you speak Italian. And somehow it gets translated to 2020 Texas Gladiators. I'm not sure how they decided it takes place in Texas because it features some kind of 500-year-old Italian farmhouse pretty prominently in the story. That's where these ventriloquist tough guys have their oil refinery till a bunch of bikers and a UPS truck filled with the Darth Vader drill team come and take it over, and everybody rides around and shoots each other till the producers run out of money. Anybody who can figure out who the good guys are before the last reel gets a free post-apocalypse double feature next week. So let's just do the drive-in totals. We have 85 dead bodies, 2 breasts, and it's my theory that you do see them, 1 bar fight, stair rolling, sword hacking, headbutting, necklace ripping, crucifixion, tomahawk to the head, dagger to the chest, multiple gun battles, salty mouth torture, kung fu, Russian roulette fu, Harley Davidson fu. I give it about 1.5 stars. Check it out. I'll be here to translate as best I can because I do speak Italian fluently. It's like Chianti per tutti. Don't do that. Tutti frutti. Tutti is a big word. Tutti frutti per Lolita. Benvenuto Bartolino.
Hi, I'm Rusty, the Monstervision mail girl. It's not an easy job, especially when Joe Bob says something really annoying, and I have to deliver 20 times as many letters from Monstervision viewers. But don't worry, I work out 5 times a week to make sure I can handle anything you want to send my way. Come visit me at Monstervision website, tnt.turner.com/Monstervision, and I'll show you what I mean.
See Rusty deliver the Monstervision fan mail to Joe Bob Briggs every Saturday night on TNT. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
Well, wasn't that suspenseful? Hot steam pours out of that valve there. She's gonna blow! And everybody stands 3 feet away, saying, oh no, will he get out alive when it blows up? And then they think everything's okay, but the vigilantes with the 80s makeup and the black UPS truck are actually right outside, right? You'd think George Miller directed this himself, wouldn't you? I can't believe this went straight to video. In fact, I'm going to stop talking so we can keep it going. So, roll it. I guess I can't really say it went straight to video, because really it sat around for 2 or 3 years, and then it went to video. You don't want to just randomly throw a flick like this out on the marketplace, because there's Oscar nominations to consider, the timing of that Vanity Fair making of article. You know, it's very complicated. Started out good, though. Rednecks wasting zombies that are raping nuns in a monastery. That's good. One of those Texas monasteries, of course. You know, there are a couple of you out there who followed me throughout my career. I know that because I see you lurking around in the bushes outside my bedroom. So you may know about the Find That Flick contest I used to run in the newspaper. Well, we've added it to the Monstervision website, and I could waste your time explaining all the details of it, but just check it out. Test your horror flick knowledge and win a cheesy prize. Go to tnt.com/Monstervision and look for Find That Flick. And stop following me throughout my career. You're really starting to get on my nerves, okay?
Visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
Did you notice the sign on the old building? It said, Texas. So you would know we're in Texas. That's hysterical to me. Let's see, how can we make it plain to the audience that this is Texas? Write Texas on the building? And how about those vicious dirt bikers? At least they could ride Harleys in the movie, you know. I guess it's hard to find Harleys in Italy. Well, Al Oliver is dead, the guy who played Nisus. I'm sure Al Oliver is not his real name because this was made by one of the low-budget Italian studios in the early 80s. They would occasionally import an American actor. Usually they would import Broderick Crawford. Either Broderick Crawford or Robert Mitchum. Fred Williamson worked over there a lot. But mostly they used Europeans, and they never put an Italian name anywhere on the screen because that would give it away that it was made in Italy. Instead, they would like put a box of Kellogg's Corn Flakes on the table. People would go, oh, Kellogg's Corn Flakes, American movie. And in fact, did you see the guy in the movie in that lineup when they're out in the courtyard there? He had a T-shirt that reads Jersey Shore Hockey School. Because, you know, of all the Texans who attend the Jersey Shore Hockey School. Actually, they didn't do that so much to sell the movie in America. They do that so that Italians will think the movie is American. Because then they think, oh, possibly good movie, better box office. Because Italians stopped supporting their own cinema a long time ago. They wouldn't even support Fellini the last 20 years of his life, and he was famous in Italy. The one exception in this movie is Sabrina Ciani, who plays Maida in the movie. Sabrina Ciani was so hot and so well known in Italy that you couldn't disguise her. But what was that movie where she plays the evil snake woman and the snakes crawl over her naked body and yowza? Woo. Anyhow, Al Oliver, or whoever that Italian actor was, is dead, and Nisus was the name in the movie. And it's too bad that Nisus realized after she got raped by the Hells Angels how easy it was to get out of those ropes. Okay, tell me if I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing in this next scene. Go. And we got a new character in that last part, too. Donald O'Brien as Dr. Evil, rounding out the international cast of Texans. You know, there just aren't that many things that are scary anymore, are there? Fortunately, one of them is our Monstervision website, which is where we put the viewer mail we're too chicken to actually put on TV. Did you people have mothers that write this stuff? Good grief. You can also check out the weekly Playmate, provided your taste in centerfolds runs to scaly mutants and saber-toothed vixens. Just head on over to tnt.turner.com/Monstervision, and when you get there, do me a favor, okay? Keep it in the ballpark area of borderline psychotic. Don't go into that other zone, all right? We got kids logging on. Some of them are already mutating.
Visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
Kung Fu in the Wild West, yeehaw. And I do believe I saw 4, count them, 4 Italian mushmelons there on those saloon girls. So who says the TNT high sheriffs don't deliver, especially at 2 in the morning? Your European bimbos are much wilder than your American bimbos. You ever been to the beach in Europe? They're all running around with their tops off, acting like it's perfectly normal, like they see each other naked every day. Can you imagine running into a gal from the office at an Italian beach and having to talk about stock options while her growth funds are right there staring up at you? You know, I'd have to pierce my Merrill Lynch, Finner and Smith, I tell you. Okay, back to the flick. What are we watching here? I got a little sidetracked there. Dr. Evil is paying the guy who looks like Lorenzo Lamas to stop 3 men. I have no idea what 3 men he's talking about from this 3, Rangers. Stop those Rangers, because it's in Texas, right? Shades of Chuck Norris.
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
One thing you do have in the Italian post-Holocaust flicks is great fight scenes. They don't flinch at anything over there. If somebody gets his throat slit, he gets his throat slit. You know what I mean? Anyway, the director on this baby is listed as Kevin Mancuso. But here at Monstervision, we know who it is. We know that's one of the many pseudonyms for the great Aristide Massachese, who's probably made, what, 200 films. Action films, horror films, adventure films, films in every language in the world, including the great Grim Reaper, originally released as Anthropophagus, about the creepy guy who lives on the Greek island and eats tourists. And many of you know that the Grim Reaper was the very first movie that I ever reviewed. And then the screenwriter on this baby is Alex Carver, which we also know is a fake name. That is really Luigi Montefiore. And Luigi wrote one of the all-time great spaghetti westerns, The Violent Breed. And when he wrote it, though, he used the name George Eastman. So some people say that Luigi and Aristide co-directed this movie. The people who follow this sort of thing. So I hope you're confused by now. Aristide Massachese has a whole phone book full of pseudonyms. He probably works under 30 different names, including John Shadow, which I have a feeling is for his more erotic flicks, because he does do softcore porn. He uses the name Robert Vip. He uses the name Channa Lee Sun. I guess he uses that one when he wants people to think the movie was filmed in the Orient, when he has a lot of kung fu. Although if this is what it looks like when Italians try to carry off being American, I'd like to see them try to be Oriental. Okay, that's your lesson on the international cinema. Roll film. I think my favorite of all the Italian violent adventures, as they call them, is the title is Il Cacciatore di Squali. Eating chicken in a storm, I think is what that means. Great flick. All right, if you're going to write into us here at Monstervision and share your gripes, your opinions, whatever, and you're a woman under 140 pounds, single, and you don't have any strong opinions about any of the most common vices that men have, then I want you to use my home address because it's quicker. So just send those letters. What? I cleared this. I can do this. I'm telling you, we had a 3-hour meeting about this. It's not an attempt to get nookie on TV. Well, you don't have to use that word. Look. All right, look, I'm going to have to get back to you later. But meanwhile, just keep writing to us at 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, and emailing us at monstervision@turner.com. I like Superfly. What are you saying about Superfly? Why do you use that word? What's the implication there?
Visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
Ha 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 ha! The evil Nazi bald guy laugh. That may be the worst stage laugh in the history of the movies. Right here tonight on Monstervision. But they just kind of pass Sabrina Ciani around like a piece of meat, don't they? My kind of macho guys in this movie. Oh, he's dead now. That means you're mine. You know? But did I hear the dialogue right in that scene? The guy who owns her now, after he says, now you're mine, he vows to kill the evil man who violated her. I'm going to make him pay. And she says, but there are dozens. Is that what she said? You know, those wacky Italians. Oh, honey, don't bother avenging my honor. Too many guys to kill. And like all Italian movies, this flick is dubbed. They don't even record sound when they make an Italian movie. Even the Italian actors are dubbed into Italian. Everybody's dubbed. They can make these actors speak any language in the world. They're the masters of the dubbed soundtrack. Okay, guns and motorcycles. Well, guns and dirt bikes. So let's go. We're about to go to East Texas, so roll it. Well, we're either going to East Texas or a wildlife reserve outside Rome, or the jungles of Botswana. I don't know. Wherever you want it to be. We'll just dub in the Botswanese later.
Joe Bob doesn't get nearly as much hate mail as people think he gets. I know because I'm Rusty, the Monstervision mail girl, and most of the letters I see are almost positive. I'm not counting the ones from TNT programming executives, because that's really not mail. Those are memos. Anyway, I do see your letters, and I do love every one of them. So come visit us at the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision, or contact us the old-fashioned way at 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. You can even email us at monstervision@turner.com. Try to avoid phrases like lame, no-talent donkeys behind. You can't imagine how Joe Bob overreacts to those.
See Rusty deliver the Monstervision fan mail to Joe Bob Briggs every Saturday night on TNT. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
Were those supposed to be Indians with the plastic teepees and the bad wigs? Oh, I know. Those are the famous East Texas Italian Indians, right? Must be from that Alabama Coushatta Reservation down near Huntsville, right? The ones that will only agree to fight if you use reverse psychology on them. You are cowardly Indians. Those are harsh words, white man. The tips of our arrows are cold. Yellow belly, yellow belly, yellow belly. No man will die for a stranger. Sissy boy, sissy boy, sissy boy. Okay, we will fight for you. All right, as you know, if you've been keeping track of the drive-in totals, the body count is about to go way up, so roll it. The thrilling conclusion to 2020 Texas Gladiators. This is a post-Holocaust movie, isn't it? We ordered a post-Holocaust movie tonight. Has anybody mentioned World War III in this thing? Am I the only one paying attention here? I'll take that as a yes.
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and 2020 Texas Gladiators on TNT.
How do you get around those bulletproof high-tech force fields carried by the armored warriors? Bow and arrow! All it took was a few of those wily Texas Indians on horseback, and now Halacron can ride off to rescue other blonde babes in doe-skin hot pants. I don't remember Sabrina Ciani being blonde in her other movies. Anyway, the great 2020 Texas Gladiators. Before we get out of here, I want to remind you that next week, for those of you who just can't get enough post-apocalyptic cinema, we have two classics from the 70s, the early days of the post-apocalypse. The Ultimate Warrior, where Yul Brynner helps prevent Max von Sydow's tomatoes from being stolen, and Damnation Alley, where Jan Michael Vincent rides around with George Peppard and a decorative babe in a Tonka truck tank. I can't say that. That's it for me, Joe Bob Briggs, reminding you that if an infinite number of rednecks riding an infinite number of pickup trucks fire an infinite number of shotgun rounds at an infinite number of highway signs, they will eventually produce all the world's great literary works in Braille. Did you guys hear the one about the bartender who's washing glasses and this old Irish guy comes limping into the bar? And the Irishman hoists his bad leg up over the bar stool, and he pulls himself up, and he's in a lot of pain, and he asks for a sip of Irish whiskey. And he looks down the bar, and he says, "Is that Jesus down there?" And the bartender nods, and so the Irishman tells him to give Jesus an Irish whiskey, too. Well, the next guy to come into the bar is an old Italian guy with a hunchback. He shuffles up to the bar stool, and he asks for a glass of Chianti. He also looks down the bar, and he asks if that's Jesus sitting down there at the end of the bar. And the bartender nods, and the Italian says to give him a glass of Chianti also. Well, the third guy to arrive is a redneck. He swaggers in, he hollers, "Barkeep, set me up a cold one." And, "Hey, is that God's boy down there at the end of the bar?" And the barkeep nods, and so the redneck tells him to give Jesus a cold one, too. So Jesus has his drinks, and he gets up to leave. He walks over to the Irishman, and he touches him, and he says, "For your kindness, you are healed." And the Irishman feels the strength come back to his leg, and he gets up and he dances a jig out the door. Well, Jesus, then he walks over and he touches the Italian guy, and he says, "For your kindness, you are healed." And the Italian feels his back straighten up, and he raises his hands above his head, and he does a flip all the way out the door. Jesus walks over towards the redneck, and the redneck says, "Don't touch me, I'm on disability." Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. What's the definition of cowboy foreplay? Get in the truck.